Howie Roseman. For those that don't know, Howie Roseman is the general manager and executive vice president for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's essentially in charge of running that franchise from an NFL player standpoint. In the last two NFL draft cycles, he has added 6 Georgia Bulldogs to his team. They draft Jordan Davis in the first round of the 2022 NFL draft. They take Nakobe Dean in the third round of the same draft. And then this year, the first round, they grabbed Jalen Carter. They grabbed Nolan Smith at 30. Universally praised both of those picks. Carter could end up being the best player in the draft. Nolan Smith, a very high character player, a guy that is going to go in there, fit really well with that Philadelphia locker room, along with the fact that he's going to help out, Jalen Carter. And Jalen Carter is surrounded by guys at Georgia who can help him continue to get better and continue to improve. Then they come back on Saturday, trade up to draft Keely Ringo, add him to a team. He may not play a ton early on, but Philadelphia's got 2 corners, Darius Slay and James Bradbury, both over the age of 30. It might take him a year or 2, maybe even 3 for him to see the field, but he lands in a great spot in Philly where he's going to be able to contribute, play special teams, find a way to get on the field, really earn it, and play for a winning organization. And then to top it all off, they trade for former Georgia Bulldog DeAndre Swift, who was taken in the second round of the 2020 NFL draft. And so they've now added a bunch of players from Georgia. And this isn't unprecedented. It is with Georgia, but it's not unprecedented. Plenty of Alabama players have gone to the Ravens over recent years. I think the reason that Howie Roseman is being named the winner is because I think Georgia fans are sort of recognizing, and something that's been known in the NFL circles for a while, Howie Roseman is one of the best executives in the NFL. He won a Super Bowl with the Eagles back in, I believe, 2018, and I'm not choosing to selectively remember that because they beat the Patriots, but rather because it's either 18 or 19. I'm pretty sure it was the 2018 Super Bowl. So you see Howie Roseman there building a franchise that won. They do it again this year. They get to the Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts, a guy that, look, I've said some negative things about him in my time covering him. Plenty of Georgia fans have. I don't think you can say a bad word about the way that he played in the Super Bowl for the Eagles that day, other than maybe the fumble that he had in the second quarter that led to a touchdown. But was outstanding for them, just got rewarded with a well-deserved contract extension that made him one of the highest players in football. The Eagles are clearly one of the best organizations in the NFL. They might, other than the Chiefs, who just simply have Patrick Mahomes, and that makes them very different from everyone else. Top to bottom, they might be the best organization in the NFL. And the fact that you have so many players from the University of Georgia now playing for that organization says really good things about what Roseman thinks of Georgia, what Roseman thinks of Kirby Smart, and most importantly, what Roseman thinks of Georgia players coming out of that program. He's a Florida Gator. He made multiple jokes about it in various media appearances, joked that the Alumni Association there for Florida was going to kick him out. So he's clearly handling this well, taking this well in stride. But I think Roseman is a guy that endeared himself to a lot of Georgia fans with the way that he has gone about building this team. And if you're a Georgia fan, and this is going to transition here into our quote-unquote first loser, or next loser rather, the Atlanta Falcons. I'm not a Falcons fan, so I have no qualms about making my opinion known here. Bijan Robinson is a really good football player. He was a great player at Texas. It would not surprise me in the slightest if he wins Offensive Rookie for the Year for the Falcons. But with Jalen Carter, with Nolan Smith on the board, for the Falcons to take an offensive player, given the defense has been such an issue there for so long. And I know they did a lot to address that in the offseason and free agency, bringing in guys like Jesse Bates, re-signing a guy, Lorenzo Carter. They're doing more to try and help that. But I do think that you're starting to see something. And how real this is, I'm not sure. And I'm sure there are commenters talking about it right now. You're seeing in real time a lot of fans, certainly of the University of Georgia first, and we'll see how much those people were actually fans of the Falcons anyway. But you're seeing a lot of Georgia residents talk about, hey, I'm going to go watch and root for the Eagles. They have guys that I followed in college and know from the University of Georgia. And the Atlanta Falcons, for all that they've done as a franchise, in 11 of the last 12 NFL drafts, they have not taken a single Georgia football player. And while Georgia continues to put out great players and guys that make an impact and guys that win at the college level and go on to have strong careers in the NFL, the Falcons just don't seem to want it. And the reason that they're a loser is because when you juxtapose what Atlanta has done, and look, there are plenty of teams that have local college teams. I think New Orleans is an example with LSU, though I think they did take a few LSU players this year. There is an example of those local pro teams, maybe not necessarily catering so much to the local college fan base, but You do when you continue to make decisions like they do, passing on defensive players to take a running back when you've taken skill players in the top 10 in each of the last two drafts. And that clearly hasn't helped you as the Falcons, again, continue to draft in the top 10 every year. When you juxtapose that against this Philadelphia regime that just played for a Super Bowl and has won a Super Bowl in recent memory, it makes it hard to sort of get sympathy from the local fan base. And that does matter. And look, Terry Font, no joke. We're trying to sell jerseys here. Bijan Robinson could be a very good player, sell a lot of jerseys. If Atlanta had picked up Jalen Carter, if Atlanta had picked up Nolan Smith, those two players would have been very, very popular in and around this state. And so, again, you're not knocking them specifically. You're not saying they should just draft strictly Georgia players, even though I think some NFL people think that the way Georgia has produced and developed in recent years, that's not the worst strategy in the world. The reason I have the Falcons as a loser here is because when you compare them to what Philadelphia has done, and a similarly Bird mascot has made such a clear investment in University of Georgia players, and you don't, despite having local access to them. Kirby Smart has talked about how he has an open door policy when it comes to NFL scouts. Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot were both at Georgia's Pro Day this year. When you see a team like Philadelphia have success and they continue to draft Georgia players, it does draw some more skepticism to people wondering, hey, what are you doing? And maybe it's a layup to just take Georgia players, but sometimes in life you just got to make your layups when they're presented to you.